Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bobby Zen, and today we are going to zen out in Blender. We are working on our Thank You Next perfume bottle animation, part 3. And in classic Bobby Zen fashion, we're adding fluid. We're adding a fluid simulation to this scene because that's just what I do. Like, I love working in fluid. If I can add fluid, I'm going to add fluid. And that's just what it's going to have to be. So we're going to get into that. I have been getting some feedback that some of my previous videos were a little faster paced. And I want to say, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for all of your lovely feedback. I welcome it. I hope for it. I'm excited every time I get something, as long as it is gentle and sweet and comes from a good place. I welcome it and I love that. And it is only helping me grow as a YouTuber. So thank you all so much. And thank you to my 100 subscribers. We finally met that. We met. And I'm not going to take that out either. We finally met our 100 subscriber goal. Yay. So thank you guys so much for all of that. So I'm just going to take some feedback, the feedback that I got, and we're just going to work on this fluid simulation, but a little bit slower pace than you are used to. I want to also emphasize that this workflow, these videos that I'm putting up are by no means a tutorial. And I'm just saying that because I'm no expert, right? Like, I am just kind of like working through it. I'm kind of throwing things at the wall and just seeing what sticks in order to get to the end result for my project. So I just want to keep that clear, and just please keep giving me, all that feedback. I really do appreciate it. But today we're going to do a fluid simulation along a Bezier curve. So before we get into it, guys, don't forget to please like and subscribe to this video. It helps so much. You have no idea, like seeing all the numbers and seeing the movement and the graphs and things like that. It's actually really, really cool. So again, thank you to all my new and older subscribers. I'm so honored and grateful and can't wait to keep reaching milestone after milestone with you. Anyway, let's get into the video. So basically what I did was I added a Bezier curve and I just started extruding each point. Now I am just moving the curves all around to just get the curve how I want it. I've been seeing a lot of like animations with water just like moving freely all over the place, and I always thought it was super cool. So I thought that this project would be a really fun one to practice my fluid simulations along a curve. And again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of winging it. I'm going for it. I do make a lot of adjustments throughout working on this project, but this is the basic gist of how to create a fluid simulation along a curve. This is my first time doing it, so please bear with me. But this is basically what you do. You just create the path that you're looking for your fluid to follow, and you simply just kind of create it just like that. Once you get it to the place that you want to, we're then going to dive into our modifiers. We're just going to add a subdivision surface modifier. We'll bump the resolution up to 2. And then, or we'll bump it up to 2, sorry. And then we're going to, in our properties tab, add a force field. Now this force field is going to be the thing that kind of guides the fluid to move in the direction you want it to go. We're going to I dropped the strength down to -5 and the flow to 1. But I always encourage you to play in those settings, like move things around, press play, see what happens, and just kind of go from there. So now we need a sphere of some sort. So I think I end up picking an icosphere. We're just going to scale it to the appropriate size. This is where our fluid is going to be coming out of. So I added a few more subdivisions, and I'm just putting it where I want the fluid to start. Now I just want to let you guys know, by the end of this whole series of videos, the fluid starts from a completely different place. And I just want to be transparent about that. And the emitter's way different size, the shape, everything. But that's the fun and challenging thing about these fluid simulations, is just like you have to do a bunch of trial and error. So there is definitely going to have to be points where a lot of it is cut out, a lot of things are sped up, because you're kind of just seeing what happens, seeing what sticks. So essentially, this would be your setup if you are doing a fluid simulation along a Bezier curve. You take whatever object you're going to use as the flow object, and you're just going to place that near your curve. Now that force field is what is going to push the water along the curve. So I don't think it has to be as close as I have it to the actual force field, but I could be wrong. But I also do add an additional fluid domain after this one later on. And I did notice that this force field was pulling my second fluid with it. So it was kind of joining the curve. So the force field is pretty strong. So definitely got to play a little bit about with that if you do plan to have separate fluids in your scene. Anyway, we're creating a domain here. So we just need the system to know where the water is going to be, a place to hold the water, and we just basically had to make it about the size of the platform in the perfume bottle, and the water is free to move around here, or the liquid, sorry. And then as far as our resolutions go, I like to start with 64 because it's low enough that it can bake out pretty quickly, but it's high enough that I get to see what the fluid would actually look the closest to what the fluid would look like with the final render, the final bake. So I like 64 because it's a pretty nice medium. It bakes quick, and you get to kind of get a really good idea of what your fluid simulation will look like in the end and how the water is going to go ahead and move. So again, fluid simulations are very tedious, and you do have to do a lot of trial and error, but this is kind of where we got initially. This is what you want to do. So you can kind of see those tiny little specks of blue like floating around the curve, which means it's working, which is a win, right? But this is obviously not what I'm looking for. And one big takeaway from this project, or this part of the project, is that that icosphere that I'm using as my flow object, it can be large, like it can be ginormous, because if we are setting the flow behavior to geometry, which is what we did do, because that's where your fluid is going to come out of, you can make it large because it's only going to release the amount and the size of the geometry that you're using. So this is a tiny little ball. So we're only going to get but so much fluid out of it. I mean, it's basic physics, you know. So we're going to apply the scale to just make sure the scale's all right. But I also realized, like, wait a minute, I need to make this much larger because I want there to be a larger amount of fluid. And with that, I also want to emphasize something that I learned and I have to keep reminding myself is this flow object, we're just going to hide it in the final render anyway, so it doesn't matter, really. The only time and the only reason that it would matter is the initial start of your fluid is going to be the shape of whatever object is your flow object. Or, you know, again, I'm no expert, so there could be another way to even stop that. But I knew I was going to be adding different objects to this scene. So I was like, if anything, I can hide a ball behind a macaroon or the raspberries that I do later model. So just keep that in mind. You are going to hide that object anyway. So go crazy, do your thing, make it whatever size you need to make it to get the amount of geometry that you are looking for. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't confuse you too much with that. But this is what your basic setup is going to look like with your curve, your force field, your icosphere, like all that thing, all those things. And I think that is the gist of what it would look like to set up your fluid simulation along a curve. Now, I am just gonna keep kind of playing with options, playing with things, changing the size of this ball and baking, freeing all, baking again, changing the resolution, all of that jazz. So I'm gonna let you guys kind of watch the process gently. I'm gonna step away for a second and I'll be back when we move on to the next step in the video, okay? Okay, everybody. right, you can see that I finally got the fluid to look pretty much how I'm looking for it to look. I didn't mention, but we did need to make sure that the gravity is set to 0. That way our fluid floats in midair. That's what I was going for here. So if you're looking for something similar like that, just make sure that gravity is at 0. But you can kind of see I made the icosphere a little bit bigger. I eventually make it even bigger because I just want a little bit more fluid kind of emitting from this geometry. But basically, this is what I was looking to accomplish. Now, I know there are alternative ways. I did see a couple ways on the internet where you could create this same kind of effect, but with geometry nodes, and that gives it a little bit more of a natural look. This gives a little bit more, it's a little bit more uniform, this method. But for my particular practice project, I mean, look at that. It looks so cool. Do you think? I think it looks so cool, honestly. That's what I wanted. That's what I was going after. That's the result I wanted for this project. This is not a client project. This is just my own practice project. So we're adding more and more fluid. So it might not fully make sense to you, but I'm having a good time and I'm learning. And that's what this is all about, I think, personally. But like I mentioned, there is a geometry node method that I would love to try because you're able to kind of manipulate the water a lot more to give it more of a free, natural look. But again, this isn't even necessarily water. In my mind, this is the perfume showing you, modeling, walking the catwalk for you. Check us out. Look at the perfume. That's what I went with. I don't know. Art is interpretive. It's whatever you see, all right? So I'm here. You can also see that the fluid on the left-hand side is kind of clipping into the bottle. I do fix that, I'm not a savage. You know what I mean? I do eventually get there. But I just wanted to show you all this video and this process, and this is what I recorded of this process because it took a couple days. I'm not going to lie. It took about 2 days to get this this perfume perfect. But I enjoy working with fluid simulations. I think they're a really fun way to enhance your work, to emphasize, to add some movement to your work. And I'm here for it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So I think next things next, we just need to focus on adding a material to this. It's going to be super, super basic and we'll be pretty good with this part, everyone. So we're going to add a material. I was thinking of using the Principal BSDF, but then I was like, you know what? We want it to look like water. We want it to look like the perfume liquid that would be inside of this bottle. And so we're just gonna add a glass BSDF, which I just recently discovered not too long ago, and I'm obsessed. I have created the water node tree from scratch, and that comes out great as well. But I feel like the glass BSDF is so perfect for these sorts of projects where it's not like so critical to get the water looking a particular way. Like this is far away, it's a self project and like whatever. So I just make sure that I change the IQR to 1.33 because that is what water's IQR is. And now I'm just changing the colors, and I think this is great. I think it's a nice hue of pink. The perfume seems to be pink. I'm obsessed with pink. I love pink. So I'm like, let's just add all the pink liquid we can. I mean, why not? So I'm just going to add this material, look at, check it out, make sure that I'm going to hide that icosphere there because we don't need that anymore. And that's the thing that I was mentioning is like, you can make that icosphere or whatever object you're using as big as you want because you're just going to hide it in the render view anyway. Nobody's going to see it. So you will see there is like kind of a ball shape there, but like not really. It looks just fine. And I'm going to put objects in front of it that are going to hide all of this anyway. So I wasn't super concerned about that, but I think it looks fantastic. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? And before you come at me in the comments, I understand that I could have hidden the HDRI. I could have. I get it. It's a little distracting, but also I liked it. So, and I was just kind of in my flow state, honestly. So I didn't, but I get it. I could have hidden the HDRI in the background, and moving forward, I'll try. I'll really try. But anyway, I think we are just about, I think Bob's your uncle. I love saying that, by the way. I never really get to use it too much in life, so I like it. I think it's just one of the good ones, one of the good sayings out there. But we're just about done, you guys. This is it. We did our materials for our fluid. We did our first fluid simulation, and we're gonna move on to part 4 pretty soon. So thank you guys so much again for sticking with me, for bearing with me, and just, you know, being here in the beginning of my blender journey. I have so much content scheduled already, so I'm excited to get y'all's feedback, see what sticks, see what doesn't, and all of that. But anyway, I'm done talking, I'm done rambling. You guys are amazing. I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, night, wherever you're at. And if you find something that zens you out, don't forget to do it. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.